All right, we are live. All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Shannon Quagliata with Open Houses Direct and Open House Masters. We have Angel Harris on today, and we have a special guest, Scott Stout with prodefenseadvisors.com. And we are going to talk about open house safety this morning because open house safety is very important, and September is Realtor Safety Month, as everybody knows. And, I don't think we really talk about this enough. And there aren't, it's not a really big thing, right? It's not a really big thing. Open house safety is not, we don't have a lot of incidences happen, but we do want to, as an open house coaching company and as Open Houses Direct with our technology, we really want to talk about how to run a safer open house. Not only is it safer for the consumer, it's safer for the seller, but more importantly, it's safer for you, especially if you're doing an open house by yourself. That's why at Open House Masters, we talk about having somebody else check people in at the door for you, whether it's a mortgage lender, whether it's a friend, 16-year-old son, whatever it is, but more so where we're setting up at the open house and how we're checking people in and we're verifying who everybody is. So I'm going to let Scott Stout talk about realtor safety. He has a class that he does. It's a 90-minute course. He teaches them all over the Valley. So if you are a new realtor or you're a realtor really wanting to learn some realtor safety tips, go to prodefenseadvisors.com, and you can find out where all of his courses are and find more information. So, Scott, I just want to have you introduce yourself and give you a little history on who you are, and some really good tips today on realtor safety and open house safety.
Great. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. And my name is Scott Stout, and I'm with Pro Defense Advisors. As Shannon mentioned, I do a realtor safety class all over the Valley. And my background is I'm a full-time police officer. I do Pro Defense Advisors on the side. And the way that the realtor safety class came about is most of my good friends, personal friends, are agents. And then that combined with the contact that I had with agents out in the field, I saw these pretty consistent gaps in terms of a little bit of situational awareness with a lot of agents out there that are really working hard as whether it's showing listings, but a big piece of it being open houses. And through that contact and talking to my friends that are agents, they're like, hey, we really think it'd be value if you put a class together to talk about some of these things that are happening and some tips to mitigate that. So that's the genesis of it. I ran into Shannon at one of my classes, and I spent a lot of time in my class talking about open houses because, in fact, according to the National Association of Realtors, about 31% of realtors have felt unsafe during an open house. Right. And I can tell you that without exception, every class that I do, when I bring up the realtor safety and anybody who's experienced a situation that's made them feel uncomfortable, every single class has mentioned an open house story. Right. In fact, and Shannon was kind enough to share a couple of her experiences and all the coaching that she does, and personally as being an agent. But there's a case that I use specifically that was from 2015 here in the Valley in Gilbert. And it touches a lot of the things that I think a lot of us or agents experience. And if you have time, I'll share that story with the group.
Yeah, we do have it. Yeah, we have about 10 minutes. Absolutely.
Good. Perfect. So this was in 2015. This case actually got a lot of local news coverage. It was an agent, and a little background on her. Super successful, had been in the real estate business for many, many years. Smart, sharp. I mean, everything that you expect from an agent, this was her. And she was doing an open house in the Gilbert area. And what happened was she was the victim of a sexual assault. Now, there's nothing good about that, but I'll say fortunately that in this case, the person had touched her over the clothing and then left voluntarily. She then called the police, and it went from there. But the bad guy, we'll call him, ended the encounter. And thankfully, that is as far as it went. He was later caught by police, largely in part to her amazing interview description. She just did a fantastic job in helping PD find this particular person. But the important part of the story is the interview with her.
Right.
And when the detective was interviewing her after the event and asking about, hey, what happened, how, all that sort of thing, she gave in her witness testimony some very telling details that I think will ring with everyone on the call here. I know it did with me. And that is that as they're talking, the detective's asking her, hey, what happened? And give me some of the circumstance. She said, well, it was towards the end of the time that I normally do an open house. And the last couple had left. And this person had been in the house for probably 15, 20 minutes and was just hanging around. She said, I had a bad feeling about him. That was the first thing she said. It was like, okay, well, tell me more. She couldn't really put her finger on it specifically, but just something about it didn't seem right, whether it was what he was doing, the time he was taking, something about it. And then after the couple left, so she was alone now in the open house with this person, he got close to her, cornered her in the kitchen, and did the sexual assault, left. And in talking to her, she's like, I had just done a self-defense class. She offered this information to the detective just the week prior. And the detective's like, oh, really? Tell me more. And she's like, yeah, I'm really conscious of self-defense. I think about it. I try to maintain my mental and situational awareness. And the detective's like, oh, okay. And she's then again offered, she's like, in fact, I even carry mace or pepper spray. And the detective was like, oh, really? Did you not have it with you? Or she's like, no, I had it with me. And kind of begs the question. I was like, well, where it was in my purse, and I had my purse on me when this happened. And the detective just couldn't help himself. So like, well, why didn't you use it?
Right.
And the answer, and again, what I do in my classes, I say, hey, what do you think that her response to that question was? And somebody gets it every time. What she said was, I couldn't believe that this was happening. Right. And how many of you are shaking your head right now? Is like, as much as I hate to say it, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in this case, what we try to focus on with realtor safety and specifically open house safety is, hey, do some of the things to tilt the scales in your favor and expect the unexpected. That's one thing I love about Shannon's product is the fact that you have to check in for open houses direct, right? And I before I had met Shannon, I talked about, hey, have a sign-in sheet. And some people are like, well, if it's a bad guy, they're not going to sign their own name. It's a deterrent. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to write someone else's name besides yourself. Anybody who's had a fake ID out there, not that I would know, has experienced that, right? So it's just these little things. We talked about have someone with you. It is so difficult for someone who has bad intentions to overcome two people as opposed to one. So you said in the beginning of the call, hey, your 16-year-old son, your spouse, your husband, boyfriend, don't bring both. I always tell people it's a different call, totally unrelated. But really just do these things that we talk about in open house safety. Tip the scales in your event, talk to the neighbors, let them know, have the doors open, have a plan. What would you do? And it's okay. Shannon and I talked about this. It's okay to say, hey, this person, something's up. You have that feeling. You can't necessarily describe it, but they shouldn't be there. And maybe before that last couple leaves, like using our case in Gilbert, hey, you know what? I got to close up open house early today. So then they all have to leave together, right? And give yourself, just be thinking about that in advance, because the fight is won right here, right now, while we're thinking and talking about it. When it happens and you're not prepared for it, you will likely fall into this category of, again, this very excellent realtor, go-getter, aware situations, have very good situational awareness, but then when it kicks off, goes right into the freeze response. Shannon?
Right. And I want to talk about that because of my incident and, that I recently had where, I think us as agents, not only is it the neighbors, but us as agents should look out for other agents. Like I had an agent come in that had a client with him, and then he got in his truck and he saw the guy get out of his truck and walk into my open house, and he left. And he texted me 3 minutes later and said, "Hey, are you okay? The guy that got out of the truck was a little creepy." I'm like, "Why did you leave me?" "Yes, he's creepy and he's in the house. Can you come back?" And it just happens that he goes, "I'm on my way. I'm only 2 minutes away." I'm like, I am not comfortable. And I had already made it to the front door because I knew how to do that. This is something that we teach at Open House Masters. We have two things that I'm very adamant about is checking people in at the door on the way in the house, right? Like you said, the girl got trapped in the kitchen. She got cornered in the kitchen. I'm not getting cornered in the kitchen because if I'm uncomfortable, the door is open. I'm checking people in at the door. I just need a name and a phone number. They know you're getting their phone number. It's not a secret because everybody goes, "Well, is it a secret that you capture their phone number?" No, I say, "I need your phone number." It gives them a code. I know who they are. They know I know who they are. And we're at the front door, right? So the door is open. I don't care if it's 120 degrees out. The door is open. You don't want somebody coming in, shutting the door, and then beelining to the kitchen, trapping you in the kitchen because now you're in the kitchen. Nobody knows and nobody's home. And how do you know they didn't lock the front door? You didn't see them come in because you're in the kitchen. So making sure you're at the entrance, say walk in. And if you're alone, then you have a sign on the door that just says, "Text me and let me know you're here." Lock the door. And I even had an agent go, "I do that so I can actually peek around and see who it is." If it's somebody that you're not comfortable with, then don't let them in. Or let them in, but then open the door and walk out to the front. So I was in the front yard before that other agent arrived because I already knew immediately I wasn't comfortable, right? But still, I'm in the front yard. I have the door open. He's in the house and nobody in the neighborhood is out. So, I mean, he could have ran outside, grabbed me, pulled me inside. There's a lot of things that can happen. So we don't want to put ourselves in those situations. But had I had my table set up at the front door, because I just had an agent leave, so I wasn't prepared because the agent left or whatever. But more so, my thing is if you see something with another realtor, like you're saying, that other couple that was there probably knew that, you know, that you should have just known to just say, "Hey, by the way," I would have even said, "Would you guys mind just hanging out for a couple minutes?" You know, it's okay. We have to trust that zing that we get in our tummy that we know. Like I have people come into my open house all the time. They could be big, little, small, they could be whatever. And I don't ever get that feeling. But when you do, you get it for a reason because that's why we have this intuition. And we have to trust that if we're uncomfortable, then we need to make sure that we have an out. So I immediately went to the front door and walked out to the front yard. It was 110 degrees out and I'm sitting there until the other agent came in. So making sure, and so what we do at Open House Masters, we teach this entire check-in system. It is a deterrent to somebody coming into the open house for any other reason. It is also a protection for your seller. Occupied homes, I see too many agents holding occupied properties, $1 million homes that they just have a piece of paper when people come in and people go, "Oh, I don't want to sign in." And then they just let them go, you know, around the house. How do you know they're not scaping it out for a robbery? They won't do it if they know that you have their phone number. And I want you to clarify, Scott, because I don't think a lot of realtors know that if I capture a phone number, a mobile phone, not an email address, everybody's like, "Well, can you get an email?" Like, yeah, I'll get the email address after I have a conversation and I can check them in with an email also. But with a verified mobile phone, if anything happened at that open house or if anything went missing or whatever, we could actually give you, the police department, all the phone numbers and you can track every single person with a phone number. You can't do that with an email, correct?
Yeah, that's right. There's a clause in the Arizona Revised Statute that allows us in what we call exigent circumstances. So that means the 4-year-old is missing, the realtor's missing, and we have a time crunch, so we're not going to go get a search warrant for that information. We can, in an effort under safety and a concern to find you as soon as possible, then we can use that phone number to track it.
Right.
So that is huge information when we have a condensed time frame. You're exactly right.
Yeah. So, and if anybody comes in and you do go missing, like that one agent in Georgia, like they could have having a significant other know, "Hey, here's my open house's direct account. For whatever reason, something funky goes on. I am going to register every single person that comes in, or they can't come in. That's just the way it is." And I mean, look at the odds, Scott. Somebody walking into an open house, and if you say you have to check in on the way in, right? They're not going to attack you right there. They usually want to get you in another part of the house. So they'll leave. They're not just going to like jump on your way there, right? So they're going to usually walk out if there's any other reason. And so it really is a great way to be able to track everybody. But so I really wanted to touch on that. And also I wanted to let everybody know on openhousemasters.com, we have mortgage lenders that are reaching out to us every single day saying, we want to help agents. We will sit open houses. We don't care if 3 people come in. We want to help agents hold open houses, and we don't have enough agents reach out to us to ask us to help them with their open houses on the weekend. Having a lender sit at the door with you is phenomenal, whether it's a girl or a guy, right? It's just like you said, it's another person. So, and having them check people in at the door, it also gets them leads, but it also makes sure that you're not in the open house all by yourself. And maybe even promoting that on social media and saying, hey, it's me and so-and-so here today, so that people know you're not alone. So that's also a deterrent so that you don't even put yourself in that situation. And we do at openhousemasters.com, if you go to our preferred partners, all of our partners are willing to help you in some way with your open houses, whether it's sitting them, they have somebody, our lenders are on there. They love sitting open houses. So if you are a girl holding an open house by yourself, and you want some help, definitely just reach out. Takes 2 seconds, even if they come by for a couple hours, and being able to announce and advertise that you are there with somebody is key. So, so Scott, I just want to announce again, you're with prodefenseadvisors.com. So if you guys want to learn more about open house safety and about realtor safety, Scott does an amazing taser demonstration, which I have to say, Scott, I don't know if I could do it, man. That would be tough. I know you showed it to me, but I don't know. I think I'd have it PTSD for a long time if I had to do that. But I mean, I guess in a situation I could, but that was actually pretty crazy to see a taser. And the fact that you have to be pretty accurate, like it's just like a gun, like you got to get them. Otherwise, if it goes the other direction, you're out. So, but anyways,
always a good time.
Well, what's that? All in good time and practice. Yeah, I guess so. So, all right. Well, thank you for joining us, you guys. If you want any information, we do open house workshops all over the Valley that talk about open house safety as well as open houses direct and how to check people in on the way in, not on the way out. So if you go to openhousemasters.com/workshops, you can attend one of those. But yeah, so thank you, Scott, so much. And I will definitely be seeing you again at one of your courses. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Love open houses direct, everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.